Miss Osuna here. Let's get started on our motorcycle jacket. So first you're going to want to draw the jacket, and then you're going to want to draw your highlights in each part of the jacket. So I'm starting highlighting in the center of the collar and then the lapel. And then I'll do the oblong shapes. These are kind of triangle, almost like lightning bolt shapes in the center of the body of the jacket front, and then I'll do it on the sleeves. Up next, we're going to fill in with our marker, and it's going to be black. And we're going to start on our shadow side, which for us is the left side, and the right side is the light source. So we're going to fill in around these highlights. So here we go. Left side at the sleeve, filling in around that lightning bolt shape. And you can always get a reference image to see where your pull lines and your highlights are going to be. But this one is just a general. You're going to always have some highlights in the middle of most of your garments if things are centered. And then also you will have the Z shape at the elbow bend for most of the garments because your elbow is going to bend and the garments get wrinkled. Same for the knee. There'll be a bend if you were working on a pair of pants at that knee area and some pull lines there. And also there will be a bend and pull lines at the waist. The clothing just naturally wrinkles there because that's where your body is going to be moving and bending the most. So you're going to skip a little space, about a 1/16 of an inch at the armhole seam, and that will be filled in later with your blender and some black marker. But for now, we just skip that little tiny space so that way you can see that there's a seam. Because if we colored it in completely, because we're doing a black motorcycle leather jacket, you won't be able to see it. So we're going to leave it white. It's just a 1/16 of an inch of that sliver. And then you're going to continue filling in, starting on the left side, which is the shadow side for us, and make sure that you try to fill in as much as possible. Now here, you don't have to fill it in very neatly because the goal is to have that cracked, worn leather cycle jacket. So you will literally need some of that texture underneath. So you can think of this almost as like an underpainting if you were doing watercolor, and you will fill in around those highlighted places, but it doesn't need to be neat because the uneven texture is going to add to your motorcycle jacket leather texture when you're all finished with the final results. Up next, you are going to get ready once you finish filling in around those center highlighted areas of the jacket. You're going to get ready for your sliding surface, which we use a cookie tin, like Altoids top, anything like that, a metal surface that you can use. And we are going to spread our markers. So take your black design markers, which are alcohol based, and spread some of it using the broad tip side. Spread it into your sliding surface, and then we're going to use our blender to start to take away some of the white spaces a little bit at a time. When we get ready to take away those white spaces, we're going to once again pick up some of that color with the blender and start on our far left side. So remember, we're starting left to right because our shadow for this class is on the left side and our light source is going to be on the right side. What we're going to be doing is looking to the area where we have the black and the white spaces left. So we're going to blur that area so it's no longer just white paper. So right at that area where the black ink and the white paper is, that's where we're going to be placing that blender with our black ink so that it becomes a light gray and we start to blur that hard line. So we're basically going to soften those hard edges. Again, that was your blender and some of your black ink that you spread on your tin. And then you can start to take away some of those uneven spots where you have little bits of white and blur those as well, because now you'll be able to see that uneven texture. The point of this is that you can see through the blender and you want to be able to see underneath, so that now you start to look at a black and then a lighter gray and then a white, so that you have dark, medium, light. Okay, so now that you have softened all of those white spaces, the goal is now to start to blend, starting from the far left side, moving to the far right side. So you're blending on top of the black. You're going to pick up a lot of that ink, so touch the paper very lightly, and now you're going to start to smooth things out. So now we're going on top of that black, not just on the white spaces, but the ink will start to lift up and you're basically starting to even out the work. All right, so we're almost finished with that first time around of smoothing out the black and touching some of those little bits of white that were left. So it'll be time to get ready to scribble our marker onto some scrap marker paper so that you can make sure that your colorless blender stays colorless and you don't want it to turn into a gray. So just grab some scrap marker paper when you finish this step and scribble your marker to clean it off. But you want to use marker paper, not just regular paper. That's really important because regular paper will absorb too much of your marker and it'll run out faster. Now we're going to get ready for our texture with our colored pencils. So the colored pencils are going to give us a little bit more texture. So very lightly grab your white colored pencil, and on the light source side of your garment, you're focusing in on going on top of some of that black ink just to soften things and to add that layer of texture. Now that we have done that with our white colored pencil, it's time to move to the black colored pencil, but I put paper under my hand so I don't smear. So just some scrap paper underneath, and then now grab your black colored pencil, push hard on the far left sides of your garment and at your edges. So right now I'm pushing hard on the seam line, but you can still see that little sliver of white. But the armhole seam line, I'm pushing hard to the left of it. And then I'm pushing hard on the far left side of my sleeve so that the edges start to show up, because you do want to have a clearly defined edge. After you push hard on those edges, then you can do longer strokes next to it to bring that color to the right. So we're just going to push hard on the edge, and then you lighten up on your pressure when you do your longer strokes. So here, defining these edges is extremely important. You just want to make sure that the left edges feel a bit darker than the right so that you can be continuous when it comes to your shadow. We don't want to have any disconnect. Once you finish defining those edges with your black colored pencil, grab your fine point ink and let's put in our zipper details with dash lines, straight lines, and then our zipper pull. So that fine point black ink is going to be used in this particular case. So starting off with that zipper pull, and then the zipper teeth are just done with little tiny dash lines. And in the center of our zipper, we're going to have a straight line. Now it's going to be time for us to add our white correction pen because we left spaces where we have the snap buttons on the lapel and collar. So with the white correction pen, you can start to fill in some of that space. And once it fully dries, then you'll move on to the next step. That's it for part 1 of our jacket tutorial for this leather motorcycle jacket. And I will see you in part 2. Until then, happy sketching.